Welcome to Cricket Tragic React. My name is Stephen. I play club level cricket, and here is my first react video. Sir Alastair Cook picks his all-time Ashes 11. Let's see what he decides to pick.
I'm going to ask you to make your best Ashes 11 combined, England and Australia, players you played with and against. So let's start.
Yeah, so I've got it on my phone, so if I keep looking down, it's not easy.
No,
I've left out some great players. Mike Hussey, and I thought he was one of Australia's great, but unfortunately I can't squeeze him in. So I'm going to go Hayden and Strauss to start with. Strauss is going to be a captain. I think what he did in 2010 and how he turned that side round from 2009 onwards, he's the right man to lead that team. Hayden's record speaks for himself, certainly in Australia. Ricky Ponting at 3, you know, absolutely outstanding batsman. One of.
All right. Interesting because with Alastair Cook, it's clearly going to be recent time. It doesn't look like he's going historic players, only players he's played with and against. So Strauss and Hayden as openers. I'd say, yeah, that's a pretty good opening pair. And
the greatest I've seen up close. I remember when I first toured in 2006. I think you got 190 maybe at Brisbane, and I was only a young pup. I was 21, 22, and I thought that's how good you have to be to dominate Test cricket. That innings was as good as I can remember playing. Certainly the big series. So he goes at 3.
Yep, Ponting at 3. Good choice. Joe Root at 4 by the looks of it. I reckon that could be a controversial pick, but yeah, interesting.
Root at 4. I think quite comfortably most complete English batsman I've seen and played with. So he slides in at 4. Everyone's favourite Steve Smith at 5. I mean, his record.
Really? Smith at 5? That's lower than he normally bats, but yeah, it's pretty hard to slot him in higher. Maybe besides switching Root and Smith around.
In the Ashes is incredible, but you know, I think he get 1/600 and 1/700 runs in back-to-back Ashes. So his technique's slightly unusual, but he's extraordinary.
Slightly unusual? That's an understatement.
Yeah, when did you realise he was going to be as good as he became?
Well, I wouldn't put much. We saw him in 2010. I think some of the commentators, you know, I remember Beefy saying, "Oh, it's just a walking wicket. You know, you bowl outside or stump, he drives, he nicks." And that's what he did. But actually got a 50 in the last game against Sydney, sorry. And there was a little glimpse of it. But even then, he didn't score any runs really until 2013. He scored his first 100 at the Oval. And then since then, I think he's got 2700s in about 60 Test matches. So
yeah, he's just ridiculously good now.
He rounds off my top 5 batsmen. Stokes at 6,
yep.
The all-rounder. You know,
innings
he played it.
That's a pretty easy choice because though he did play with Flintoff, I think Joe Root is probably the better all-rounder, whereas Flintoff I think was still more of a bowling all-rounder.
Headingley, I was lucky enough to be on air at the time. Was just absolutely extraordinary.
Oh yeah, that Headingley innings is just something special.
And also the fact the pressure was on. You know, we go back also previously. The only time he's played in Australia, that's Perth 100. You know, his first ever 100. The cracks honestly were. You know, it almost felt like they're that wide. I actually got that first baller from Ryan Harris in the beginning, so I never actually got a.
Look at those cracks. That's something you don't really see these days. Because most pitchers, especially in Australia, are dropping wickets, so they don't tend to crack nearly as much, even in hot weather. Which is a shame. We need more of that.
A bat on that wicket in the second innings. with it. But just to be able to put that in the mind against people like Mitchell Johnson bowling quickly on a quick wicket showed the talent, and he's obviously gone on to do that. Bowls as a four-seamer as well. Gilchrist, tough on Matt Pryor. You know, I've got standing a lot to Matt Pryor, but obviously I only played one series against Gilchrist, so I played a lot more with Matt Pryor. But that innings at Perth, he got the quickest 100. Then I think it done.
Honestly, if you could pick Gilchrist, you're going to pick Gilchrist because
and just change games.
He changed the game.
He needs to be in there.
Cricket.
Shane Warne, an obvious pick. I played that one series against him. I didn't actually face him that much because McGrath and Clark got me out before that, but he has to be on my team.
What is the first ball against Shane Warne like when you're out there facing for the first time?
Well, it was in Brisbane, and I got through the new ball and things, and then it was the big build-up. We got bowled out of 150, so we're following on. It was a bit of a surreal moment as a 21-year-old to play against him. I did okay. You just got to ignore his, the bluster. He's just trying to suck you into the battle. And certainly towards the end of his career, he certainly tried to get on your mind. I was just telling myself to play the ball. I think I played okay. He got me out eventually. And then our bowlers are Jimmy Anderson, Glenn McGrath. I'm not sure how he's scoring many runs against those two.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Having the 2013-14 version of Mitchell Johnson.
Very specifically that one.
Well, the 2010 he wasn't his best. I mean, I quite enjoyed facing him.
Yeah.
He's making the Ashes combined 11. It has to be that. It was brilliant bowling. Actually, very well captained by Michael Clark. Didn't set traditional fields.
Very
didn't bother too
strong
many
combined
slips.
team for
Third man,
the
deep
last
like a square
20
leg, man
years.
out, short leg. Kind of had all his options covered, and it was outstanding bowling for 5 Test matches. There it is. There's my team.
All right, so at first we got Mathew Hayden, Andrew Strauss, Ricky Ponting, Joe Root, Steve Smith. I'd probably switch those two around, but besides that, it's a very strong team. Very strong team. I'd say a lot of eras would struggle. A lot of Ashes eras combined 11 would struggle against that team. And that's probably the end of it. Looks like it. So yeah, for me, that's a really good team. Not much I'd change about that. Just no Stuart Broad. But then the question is, where would you put him? He's really in a spot. A lot of good players are missing out, but that's what happens when you pick top 11 sides. Alright guys, there has been the Cricket Tragic, who is doing reviews. I'll see you next time with another review.